9th, 2025 meeting of the Johnson County Fiscal Court. Would we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We only have a couple of announcements this evening. The first one is really want to put a big emphasis and a big push on Trail Days. Our 5th annual Johnson County Trail Days is this weekend, this Friday and Saturday. And if you haven't been following the information online, we highly encourage you to do so. There's a shot of the shirts for this year. But if you have not signed up, registration is still open, correct? Yes. Okay, registration is open through Wednesday at midnight. You can go on to the Trail Days Facebook page, and there's a link there for registration. There are T-shirts for registrants who sign up, and those T-shirts are free. So we highly recommend that you consider that in your scheduling this weekend if you haven't participated in the past. And I'll just give you a quick rundown. So Friday evening at Paintsville Lake, there's several activities going on out there. All these events are hosted by community partners. I think last year we counted there's about 14, community partners involved in all of this. But out at the Paintsville Lake on Friday night, there's a kayak island time paddle event. There's a pontoon lake interpretive ride on the lake out to the island and back. The Extension Service is doing strawberry s'mores and rainmakers. There's a walk on the Fisherman's Trail. There's a lakeside dance from 7:30 to 9:30, and then there's also Fishing 101, learning fishing basics, also out there. So that's all happening on Friday evening. So that's from 4 o'clock to 9:30 will be the ending time of that. So please go on the Facebook page and look at all the details for that. But that was really a great event last year, adding the Friday night event, and it's just at that one location. But then we come to Saturday, and Saturday has a whole host of locations on Saturday that are throughout the county that really highlight, obviously, all of our trails that we have. We've got some wonderful, wonderful trails here in the county. They're starting at 9 o'clock. There's a guided walking tour at the what's referred to as the Planet at Blanton Branch. That's with our Extension Service. A guided walking trail of tree identification and foraging for edibles. There's a walk hosted by the Health Department at 9 o'clock. Also, that's at the Kiwanis Trail. At 9 o'clock, there's a hike as well at Hell's Half Acre. That's hosted by the Johnson County Trail Towns. You will meet at the former Oil Springs High School Gymnasium. At 10 o'clock, there's Sons of the Hills Jeep Ride. That will leave at 10, meet at the Veterans Referral Center. At 10 o'clock as well, there is a horse trail ride that will be hosted by the Johnson County Trail Towns, and you'll meet at Oil Springs Station 2 for that. At 10 a.m., same time at Thialka Park, the Extension Service is hosting Pinch Pottery at Thialka Park. At 11 o'clock, there's a hike at the Jenny Wiley Falls Interpretive Hike. That's hosted by Johnson County Trail Towns. That's out at Little Mud Lick. From 12 to 3 is once again opportunity for the Pontoon Lake Interpretive Boat Ride, hosted by Paintsville Tourism, and that will be at the Courtesy Dock at Paintsville Lake State Park. Also, from 11 to 2, there is a water obstacle course that will take place at Thialka Park, hosted by Johnson County Trail Towns. 11 o'clock, there's a guided tour downtown Paintsville of the historic walking tour. That's hosted by the Public Library, and that will begin at the Public Library. There's also a story trail walk at Thialka Park from 11 to 2 on Saturday. That's hosted by the Johnson County Public Library. That's at Thialka Park. And 11:30, there's a Fisherman's Trail walk at sponsored by the Paintsville Tourism and Mountain Home Place Farms, and that'll be at the Fisherman's Trail, which is near the Kiwanis Fishing Pier. And then at 2 o'clock, there is an ATV ride, Fly Your Flag ride. That will be hosted by Johnson County Trail Towns, and that will leave from the Van Leer Camp and Ride Trailhead. So all those tremendous amount of events, a lot of opportunity. If you haven't participated, it's really, really great to get out and see some of these locations, and probably a lot of folks in the community may not have been to a lot of these locations, so hopefully you'll take the time to seek these out. And then the day wraps up on Saturday, as it did last year, with a closing celebration, and that will be behind the Stafford House. That will begin at 5 o'clock. There'll be food trucks there, so you can purchase food, support local food truck businesses there. That will start at 5, and that's sponsored by Paintsville Tourism and Johnson County Trail Towns, or hosted by them. And then at 5:30, there will be an ATV parade. That's going to line up at the Van Lair Camping Ride after their trail ride, and they will travel to the Stafford House parking lot. That's Johnson County Trail Towns hosting that. And there's a free concert beginning at 6:30 with Eddie Jenkins and the 606 Sound. That's sponsored or hosted by Paintsville Tourism and sponsored by them. That's also, everything is behind the Stafford House here in town. And then there will also be prizes to be given away, and that is hosted and sponsored by the Paintsville Johnson County Chamber of Commerce. So that was a great event last year. So we've extended some of the times this year because it was such a good event last year, but we have a lot of great sponsors. You can see them on the screen there. They're also, you can find them on the Facebook page as well. But we really had good support this year from our sponsors, and we appreciate them so much because we had 600 participants last year, I think, or somewhere thereabout, and we're anticipating probably close to 100 more this year. So it continues to grow every year, and we're really excited about it. So put the message out, and hopefully you can work that into your schedule to join one of those events sometime over the weekend. So that's this Friday evening and Saturday. But check the Facebook page for Trail Towns, or Trail Days, excuse me. Any questions about that? It's good stuff. All right. We'll move on there. Actually, next item on our announcements is we have a group here from the Johnson Central High School FFA, and as you know, one of our programs for solid waste is the Trash for Cash program, where we help nonprofits or school organizations. If they will help us keep our highways clean, then we try to help them with financial support for doing so. And so this year, this group picked up trash for us. They did 7 miles, which per our guidelines entitles that organization $700. And if you're not familiar with the FFA, they work really hard to self-fund themselves for all that they do. And I think that's important to note, that they not only do this, but Sheena Blair is here as well. But you all obviously do a lot of fundraising events and stuff because you do self-support everything that you do. So thank you all for what you did here. We appreciate it. And I guess Judy has a check for you. Why don't you guys come up front? Fiscal Court will join you down there. We'll take a quick picture and give you your check. You can be the holder of that. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you all. What do you think, guys? Close enough?
If this stem, everybody squeeze in this one.
Mm-hmm.
You guys stay still.
We stay still? All right.
That's good.
All right. What do you think? Good? Thank you all. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheena. Appreciate it. All right, we will move on to the next item on our agenda. That's approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on May 12th and special call meeting for May 30th. After reviewing those minutes, if there's no recommended changes, then we would entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is approval or presentation of monthly bills for your consideration. One note that was mentioned is that we do need to hold the KCO payment for all lines fund insurance coverage. That will actually be in July. So we just need to disregard that one for June, but all the other claims are as presented, and happy to answer any questions concerning those.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Gerald. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Click. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is approval of the transfers and financials. You do have some transfers on there. I will explain one on the first page, the general fund to the Corps of Engineer flood control project. Those funds were electronically deposited from the Corps of Engineers into the general fund, and those need to be, just do a cash transfer into the correct fund, which is for the Corps project. So the second page are just some year-end transfers, smaller amounts generally to address final year-end expenses. So we would entertain a motion to approve any the transfers and financials if there are no questions about them.
Make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Salyer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is to open and approve bids for bulk materials for the road department. This was advertised per our administrative code. So we will open these publicly, document the bids that we have received. This is for coal patch material from Hudson Materials. This is the only bid that we received for those materials. Hudson. Sorry, Sally. And we'll just do a couple. One is the coal mix oil is $2.98 per gallon, and and 35 cents per gallon for mixing. And it is the only bid we received from Hudson. They are a vendor that we have used in the past. So I think we'll just do these, I guess, as we get them for the type of material they are. So we entertain a motion to approve the bid from Hudson for coal patch material.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Salyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We do have one bid for bulk supplies for culverts. And it is from 4C7. I think I got that correctly. Is that right? 407. My apologies. 407. Theirs is a list of multiple dual wall plastic culvert pipes, anywhere from 4 inches all the way to 60 inches. So we can, I don't think we've ever dealt with this particular vendor before, so I would probably recommend that we review this compliant to all the bid specs, and then we'll get with the vendor to make sure that it meets the specs that we are looking for with respect to culverts. So, but let's publicly recognize that we received one bid from 407 Supplies. Sally, we'll just make a note that the culverts range from 4 inches to 60 inches, and they were anywhere from $21 to $2,298 in pricing. And we appreciate you taking the time to do that, and we'll be in touch next few days after reviewing. Is that okay? Thank you, sir. Next, we have a bid from Mountain Materials.
Do you need approval on that, or?
No, we're just going to put that in the public record, and then we'll review it for compliance on the specs. We'll need to check on availability, delivery, those type of things, because I think are you based out of Jackson? Is that what I read on there?
Yes, we're based out of Jackson.
They're based out of Jackson, so we'll need to.
Who's our normal?
There's a couple of vendors. There's one just across the line in Floyd County, and then there's one at the industrial park at Martin County.
So they just didn't.
I guess, yeah, they just didn't place bids. But again, we because of the availability and delivery, we just need to get more clarification from them on how they handle those type of things because of their, So this one is the Mountain Materials Valley Quarry. We usually get bids each year from each quarry. Once again, Sally, I think we'll just make note of a couple of the more common materials that we use. So from the Valley Quarry, we have a bid for limestone. Pickup price for 57s is $16.95 a ton, and DGA is $15.30 per ton, and delivery for that is $17 per ton. Usually we get bids from both quarries. This one is from the Brushy quarry.
Is there a delivery charge on the 57s?
There's $17 for all delivery charges the same. And for the Mountain Materials Brushy quarry, the 57s are $15.30, and DGA is $13.65. And delivery for all materials up to Class 3 is $18.65 per ton delivery. These are both the same companies. Typically what we do is we will approve these bids, and then obviously the bids would be for both, we'd approve both queries, because depending on availability, that sometimes runs into issues. So I entertain a motion to approve those bids from Mountain Materials for both Brushy Quarry and the Valley Quarry.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gerald. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Click. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The final bulk bid that we received is from Mountain Enterprises. And we have a bid for asphalt base, hot mix asphalt. This is in place at $123.15 per ton. And for surface, which are two commons that we use for asphalt surface, is $133.85 per ton. That is an in-place price. That's pretty similar. I didn't pull last year's. I think that's pretty similar to last year, isn't it?
Increase a little over $1, I believe.
Yeah, okay. So that is the only bid we received for asphalt, but we would entertain a motion to approve that bid, please.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Sayers, or second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you all. Next is approval of a resolution for LGEDF funding for the Oil Springs Fire Department. We did approvals for resolutions for multiple departments last month. Oil Springs provided their documentation, so this is for $4,000 support from the single county coal severance. Entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is approval of a memorandum of agreement with the United States Army Corps of Engineers and the Kentucky State Historic Preservation. This is for the Section 106 and the Kentucky SHPO. This is obviously related to the flood 202 flood control project that we're currently undergoing here in Johnson County in Paintsville. But this is related to designation of historic district here in the community. But what this does, this is an MOA that moves the process forward for them to look at two different approaches. And Regina, I guess there was two, we decided to do two different, they consulted with other local officials. They consulted with the Historic Preservation or Historic Society here locally, as well as I think the library was included in that, correct, Christy? Yeah, and so their input back to us was that they wanted to pursue two different approaches to this, depending on how that it might work, but that would be for possible signage or designation of a particular area as historic, and or also signage and booklet, electronic booklet that would identify historic areas here in the community. Some of the area has already been, I think, determined historic in times past, but because this affects the areas where this project is being constructed. So this is part of the historic preservation process that we have to go through for this. This MOA is simply just authorizes them to move forward with the project, to make the determination and decide if one or both processes can be completed for this community. But anything else?
There's no cost.
Yeah, no cost. Yeah, this is just part of the process. So anyway, we just need a motion to approve the MOA related to this historic designation here in the community.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next one is might seem a little bit unusual because we added an extra designation to this appointment that we'd like to recommend for the court to make for the Solid Waste Commission. You know, we're always trying to get input from our youth. And, you know, when we talk about education for solid waste and we talk about the programs that we have and how that we need their input because this is their future and this is their community and how they can, you know, make it better. We do the programs, whether they do the bag, the 4x4 bag challenge, we do the art contest, we do all these things to try to help bring to their attention, you know, all the things associated with solid waste. But we thought one of the discussions that Judy and I had is that, you know, what if we had someone younger that was part of our solid waste commission that provided input? Well, with that, you know, most of the people are not 18, so they cannot actually be voting members, but they can be ex officio members where they can provide their input, but yet, you know, have their voice heard, but we still obviously continue our voting rights with the commission. So I want to recommend for your consideration tonight this young lady who is Ava June Tackett. She's a freshman at Johnson Central High School, but if you know anything, if read anything about her, she's a very civic-minded young lady. And I know there's been some conversations, I think, with her and with some folks that know her, but here's some of the things that she's involved in. I thought one of them falls right into, obviously, civics and public service. She's obviously very civic-minded. She's actively involved in the academic team, student council. She was elected freshman class president, leader in the Kids for Kids, an initiative supporting the Lection Shriners Hospital. She was the 2024, in the 2024 National Civics Bee. She earned the title of the Kentucky State Champion and competed in Washington, D.C. to represent the state of Kentucky in civics. She volunteers in the Kiwanis Club at Paintsville for 4-H Teen Council and the Kentucky Association for Academic Competition. And she will represent Johnson Central at the International Future Problem Solving Competition this month as well. So she's very active, and the civics part is what kind of got our attention, is that she's very interested in her community, and that's what we need, is we need more people to be interested in the community and want to do what they can to improve it. And so while this is a little bit different, I think it's very beneficial for us. And so I'd like for your consideration in approving Ms. Tackett to be an ex officio member of our Solid Waste Commission, and she's already said that if the approval happens tonight, that she is available to attend the meetings with our Solid Waste Commission and provide input on the programs. So I think it's a nice addition if you all so see it that way.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gerald. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Click. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Next is approval of a bid for site work for the Hager Hill Athletic Field Complex. We received one bid for this, and it's Liberty Technical Services, LLC. And make sure that there's only just the one bid. The bid for this is $613,713.62. For that is the scope of work includes site work, drainage, erosion control, reseeding, dealing with any hydrant relocations or utility abandonments that might be necessary with the project. It would be my recommendation to the court. We had the assistance, we contracted with Bocook Engineering to help us put together this bid package. So it would be my recommendation that we publicly document the bid submittal and then share this with Dewey Bocook tomorrow to begin his review of compliance, and then we can also take a look at where we are with what we had planned for the project, the funding, that type of thing, and then we'll be coming back with a special meeting on the 18th for some administrative approvals at the end of the year. So hopefully by that point we can come back with a recommendation on this bid about moving forward or taking a look at any. This is bid by line item. There's some items in here that can be adjusted if need be based on budgetary.
If we got one bid, do we have the ability to do it again?
I can look. I don't know offhand, but that's possible. Yeah. And it might be too, once Dewey reviews these two, we can see, how it all is, the compliance to the bid specs, and then we also need to look at our budgetary, plans for it. But yeah, that's a good question. But I would recommend no action be taken on this, and then we'll come back with a recommendation after it's been reviewed. Sally, do you need more information on that? Do you have what you need on that?
Yep.
Okay. Next item is approval of bids for the community pavilion at Van Leer. The first bid that we have is from County Concrete. And this is the project at Van Leer where that we have been working to secure support from other community partners for this project. So once again, we will need to come back after opening these bids publicly. We'll need to come back with a recommendation based on the bid amount, how that fits into the budget, as well as our support from our community partners. So the bid price for this project from County Concrete is $310,000 for that project. And then we have a bid from CPR Construction. And that bid is $620,000, $620,463. So again, we will come back with a recommendation on this project as well, based on those bids. All right, we will move on to item 13, which was for proposals for county line welcome sign design installation. We did not receive any proposals on that, so we'll follow up on that with the court as well. Next item on item 14 is a approval of the first reading of an ordinance related to the UTV use on state highways. This is an ordinance that is associated with Senate Bill 63 that was passed in the last legislative session that requires inspections and licensing for special purpose vehicles that are street legal. But part of that process is not only the inspection and license, but also approval of the fiscal court of an ordinance for the use on state highways. So you have the first reading, we have the draft of the ordinance in front of you for your consideration to approve for the first reading. And we're happy to entertain any questions on it. This is an ordinance that was drafted, and Mike and I have looked at it, we reviewed it. It's at this point in time.
It's a foreign ordinance that's going around all over the state.
Yeah, pretty much I think most folks are using, generally,
Yeah.
there are some options, I guess, you can choose differently, but for the purposes of what we're trying to accomplish with growing this part of our economy, the ordinance is drafted in a way I think that best supports that. But you have it for your consideration, not for the first reading. But what it does, again, I think it's important to note that we are that these special purpose vehicles will have to be inspected and they will have to be licensed. But we need the ordinance, obviously, to allow them to actually utilize the highways. Questions, comments? I know you guys have heard a lot about it. I mean, there's been a lot of conversation about this particular Senate Bill 63. But
This ordinance allows it the way it's written, I think, to let these vehicles go all the way around the county. That's the big issue, how far you want it to go.
correct.
Is it 20 miles or something?
Yeah, there's some mileage limitations in the language of the statute. Yes.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click to approve the first reading of the ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is approval of an employee for the road department. Mr. Fife has been a previous employee but is returning to the road department, so we just need approval for his rehire, please.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click. Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is, I would like to have approval for, to execute documents related to an ARC Flexi grant. We would like to update our community strategic plan. If you remember back in 2020, we did a community strategic plan where we had public meetings at the Country Music Highway Museum where we got input from the community on things that they would like to see happen in the community. It kind of gave us a roadmap of directions to go, and there's been a lot of things accomplished in that strategic plan, and we're really pleased, and that's why we're coming back. We're 4 or 5 years since that. We'd like to come back and refresh it, get more input, see what we can do differently, what direction maybe that we should go that we aren't already looking at going. But the grant is for $10,000 grant. We have a 25% match. I'm sorry, 50% match to that grant. But it's I think it's important for us because the plan really gave us a lot of input. It told us what was priority to the community, things to do, recreation, tourism. I mean, it covered it all. Public safety, general welfare. I mean, a lot of different things. But it was a really, really good plan, and we would like, after 4 or 5 years now. We think it's time to update that. So we've already been given approval for the grant. We just need approval from you all for me to execute the documents to move forward with that.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Sayers, or second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is approval of the Emergency Management Monthly Activity Report. You have a list of those in your packet. We just need a motion to approve those.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Click. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. All in favor? Any opposed? Anything else from those, from the court first?
Yeah, I just want to say that if you missed out on Casting for Kids, it was absolutely phenomenal. Really want to shout out to Chris Ferguson for all the hard work that he put into that, and our community really needs all people like that who want to see a vision for kids. And also want to talk about the side-by-side situation for a minute.
Sure.
I'm just curious, is the state going to be the ones that does like any patrol? Like, how is it going to be patrolled? Because they don't give us near enough funds for our police officers and hiring more people, that sort of thing. I'm just wondering if we could take it legislatively, like an issue with that.
Well, I guess, Mike, is the fair question to say they are to be inspected and licensed like vehicles. So they will be, they will be governed and monitored just like cars and trucks. So if they are in violation
I do
of,
think they need to take in consideration, though, of like there's going to be more things to do for our police force.
and agree, you know, and you're
But
right.
I know that's a more legislative thing, but I think that we should maybe bring that to the surface at some
Well-
point.
There's a lot of discussion in the Clerks Association right now as to how it's gonna be accomplished to register the vehicles too. And, you know, it has to be updated from an off-road vehicle to an on-road vehicle, and there's a lot of different, they're trying to decide how that's gonna happen. So this is, I mean, this ordinance is the first step, and then there's a lot of different steps that have to be. And I think a lot of people are gonna think, well, on the 27th of June, we're gonna be able to start just, you know, driving our four-wheeler on the road, but there's several steps that have to be accomplished before that this can happen.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that too, Sally, because that is what Senate Bill 63 lays out, is that it gives the authority to be on state highways, but it also requires fiscal courts, clerk's offices, and sheriff's offices to be involved in that process as well. And this is our part of the process, is an ordinance. Their part is figuring out how to register them. Sheriff's office is figuring out how to inspect them, but he sent us he shared with us the inspection sheet for those last week, and so they already have their inspection sheet. But I think you all have a meeting maybe coming up next week, I think, that is going to focus on how to deal with the registration process, correct?
I'm just sure the public has questions about it. That's why I was just trying to clear it up.
Yeah, and it obviously, it goes to the economic, development piece of
definitely for
this.
it, yes.
And, when you have folks who visit here and they do come from a long way off, they come here to visit, but they want to know what the rules are. They want to know what the laws are. And because, I don't think that people purposefully come here with this level of activity to break your laws.
Right.
So I think they want to know what those are, and I think this is how it helps them to understand what the laws are, so. But it's a good question, and yeah, I don't think anybody really knows that governance impact on the highways as far as, with law enforcement, that type of thing, but it obviously is going to be part of their process.
Good.
Yeah.
That's all I had for
Well,
today.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else from those in attendance? Thank you all for being here. We will need a motion to go into executive session, and unfortunately, we will need the courtroom for this because we have virtual visitors, virtual attendees. Motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Sizer, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Click.